Imagine starting over a whole exciting chapter with a new business when you're in your mid 50s and then making it a crushing success. And not only that, ending up becoming an international best-selling author. That's who we have joining us today. Susan Wedin, welcome to the Interstate.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I am just thrilled to have you here because you are truly a pioneer that has worked on creating your life by design. Maybe you have a better way of describing it, and I should probably let you do that. But what I know is that in the course of your professional career, and what I'm aware of, you have had many different incarnations, both of profession and being an owner or an employee. And currently, in these last 11 years, you have been an owner of Shepherd Security. So you evolved into a, you're a founder, co-founder, and CEO
CFO.
of,
Yeah,
sorry,
you
CFO.
founded it
That's
20
right.
years ago. I came on and rescued it at the 10-year mark
That's
because it
right.
was dying.
Yeah. That's right. It was dying. And that's one of the things that was intriguing to me is that it was dying and you came in and the two of you realized there was something there to save. You
Yeah.
saved it. And now 11 years later, you have this incredible Shepherd Security. So,
Yes.
Susan, tell us a little bit more. Where did this entrepreneurial, adventurous side come from that has led you down this path of having so many different careers and businesses?
I think it started when I was young. My dad owned a business. So from the time I was born, I rode along with him. He had a jukebox and vending business. So I was in all kinds of locations and bars and restaurants and bowling alleys and, all the places in the original time of Atari and them coming out and Frogger and Defender. And that's how I started. The first thing I learned how to do is put credits on a machine so that I could play the video games while he was working, or taking a pinball apart to put new bumpers on them.
Right.
Sliding the glass out and learning how to open it up. And, that's how it started. And it just continued on to, he really believed that a woman could do anything a man could do. And
Hmm.
he taught us everything, how to work on cars. And so that's what I believe set me down that path. And, I did have different times where I diverted from the
Right.
path and different times that I think that I started to go down a path and God told me, no, go a
Right.
different way.
And it's sometimes when that happened, were you in a situation where your logical mind felt like this is the right path and this is, and I don't like this word should, but this is something I should be doing. But that inner voice and God speaking to you was like, nah, Susan, this is not where you should be. Did that happen sometimes and you
I
had a
think my inner
conflict?
voice is almost always a intellectual voice. I think that's how God speaks to me. I
Oh,
honestly think
great.
God sleeps to me when I sleep because that's
I
like
believe that as
my
well.
brain actually may not, have full control. But yeah, I believe that I'm not one that's run by my emotions.
Hmm.
And so I'm not a, fly by the seat of your pants girl. And so if it's a matter of God speaking to me, he almost has to knock me upside the head because I'm so full bore down a path that he's like, no, boom, and you're off on a different path.
Right. So sometimes things happen that may be inexplicable or possibly out of your control, and they happen, and then you find that redirection,
Yes,
whether it's in hindsight or whether it's in the moment. Overall, it has worked out for that greater good and has you where you are today.
absolutely. Yes.
And one of the things that's exciting to me is the area that your company specializes in. So you're in security.
Yeah.
And
It's
you can
physical
please
security.
correct me if I'm wrong, because I am wrong sometimes, but I believe that security is predominantly a male-based industry.
It is. I just got back from Las Vegas attending a trade show.
Hmm.
And the joke of the trade show when I was with people was it's the first trade show that I've ever been to that the women's room did not have a line
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there was probably 9 men to every woman that I saw.
Right.
And the women that were there were not typically in a security field per se. They were more in an AI or a camera or, they have a small women in security group in this organization. And it was very, very much a male dominated field.
Yes. And yet here you are 11 years into being co-owner of Shepherd Security, really blazing that trail. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
What
it is.
was it that
It's hard to be taken serious sometimes when, especially if, there's me, the CFO, and there's
Mhm,
me, the security guard. So if
mhm,
I'm out in the field, and I'm doing security, called security myself, which we do. If a guard doesn't show, we will suit up. We really take the company serious in the sense of what we say we're going to do, we're going to do. And if that means we are the ones actually out there doing it, we'll do it. But sometimes it is hard to be taken seriously, when you're doing your job, the actual
right.
security.
That's amazing. So, and I was thinking as you were saying that there were 9 men to every woman at this event, and I was like, all the single ladies take note, look for security conferences, book March in Vegas next year. Yeah. So, you have found one of the stocked ponds, so to speak, and you're living in it. So, what do you do, and how have you set yourself apart so that even if initially you're not taken seriously, they'll come around? And I know it's not 100%, but how have you forged that? Could you share with us how you've done
Well,
that?
because I talk about integrity in our profession. Our profession is not known for its integrity. It's just
Mhm.
not. It's and so, when you show up and you do the job, then it changes the perspective of how you're viewed. And so I feel like if we don't have integrity, we don't have anything. We're just the security, warm body security, just out there supposedly deterring, but you're not doing anything.
Right.
The look is big. If you're on your phone, you're doing supposedly guarding a plaza, and you're on your phone and you're talking and you got your, doing that, and you miss, what's going on in front of you, then that's not integrity.
Right.
That's showing up. And I don't believe you just show up to do security. You have to actively be a deterrent. You have to have participation with the client. And so what we say we do is what we do. And I think that shows in our sales. We just landed a huge contract.
Mhm.
And so, which is part of the reason we went to the trade show, because I need some more hardware, software, etc. With
Right.
it, uh, I'm purchasing 4 cars. I purchased 2 out of 4 cars that I need to start a new project on April 1st.
Mhm.
So, it's when it explodes, it's because people lose a contract because they don't do their job.
That's right. And when you mentioned the phone, even more so than like talking on the phone with it up by their head, I notice just as a consumer or just as like a human walking through wherever I am, if I see a security guard doing a scroll,
Yeah,
I notice. If I notice, others notice,
yeah,
so you are right. It is. And that's something that I think from what I've learned about you and your company is something that really differentiates you is that you don't take what you call that warm body approach. So you're not doing the like, okay, who passed the fog on the mirror test? Okay, great. Here, put on this shirt in this color. Now you're the guard. You guys actually take an integrated like team approach where you all are you're there to fulfill a purpose. You are not there to check a box that's required for insurance or a
absolutely.
venue.
Absolutely.
Right.
We're there to problem solve. They hire
Yeah.
us because they have a problem. They
Mhm.
they have, people who are unhoused at this point, or don't that they're there, and the client needs you to help them to solve
Right.
that problem. We have to be there to gently move people along. We're not the police. We're not the uh, the person to like. We want them to go to the next property.
Right.
Can go down the road, but the respect that we give even the people that are not necessarily treating the clients well, there's an approach to it rather than, this strong-armed, mean
Right.
kind of approach. And it makes a difference than how people feel. They still feel respected, even though you're telling them, I got to do my job and you need to
Right.
leave the property.
Right. I think that makes a huge difference.
It does.
How much do you enjoy that whole world? The whole world of the security and you got the big contract and you're buying the cars and you're, getting the manpower required and the training and like how much do you love it?
That is my jam. I
Yeah.
love that part of my job. I am the techie. I'm the person who
Mhm.
does all the things that I call it the back door, you
Mhm.
know. the body cameras and the accountability, because I believe they have to be accountable. If they're not accountable and you don't have a way to hold them accountable, you can't see
Right.
them. You're not on the
Right.
job with them. And those accountability factors is what I felt like that I brought in 10 years ago. We had people who they had cell phones, they were supposedly being tracked, but they would take the cell phone and they'd hide it in the bush and then they'd leave the property and you just crazy. I've heard it all about
Yeah.
the different things where they take their cell phone and they say that they spoof their GPS. So
Hmm.
and say they're somewhere else when and they're on property and they're not. And I'm
Right.
just there's just so many different ways that people can scam these days. And
Yes.
that's what we're trying to create, that atmosphere that the client knows that we're there. We're have 3 or 4 layers of GPS accountability for the client.
So one of the things that I think is a very happy coincidence for your company, which I have not shared with you, and who am I? I just love when I love when there's word situations that fit so nicely. So the name of your company is Shepherd Security, and I know that you are also a woman of faith.
Yes.
So the thought of a shepherd is part of your core values and probably part of how you see yourself. But the name, and when I first saw that was the name of your company and had learned a little bit more about you, I thought that it was by design that you purposefully chose Shepherd for that reason. It's actually your business partner's last name.
It is. It
So it
is.
was a
There's
happy
many times that
coincidence.
I'm called Mrs. Shepherd, and I say, no, I am not Mrs. Shepherd.
No, no. So that's
It is
really that's
interesting that is the approach that we take not only in business but also in our personal life.
Mhm,
It's very interesting that we both attend the same church here,
mhm,
and we were both up on stage singing every Sunday.
mhm.
So leading songs, leading worship, which is both our passions,
Right.
with that. And so, I've been 40 years. This year is when that God changed my life
Mhm.
completely. And at that point, I've spent the last 40 years really trying to help people know God either better or, sometimes people have no idea who God is. And, I feel like that's my part of my life, is to share that with other people and share who God is and what he does and how he loves them. And the whole world needs a lot of love right now.
Yes. Yes, I would agree with you on that wholeheartedly. When when you're saying this, you're not just saying that, you are actually living that because you're highly involved with your nonprofit
Yes.
and you're actually traveling the world to spread that message, share that love, and introduce people to God and what's possible in the world through love and that message.
Yeah. I usually travel at least once a year to the Philippines because that's where our mission, so the Asian Pacific Mission Foundation supports the work in the Philippines and Myanmar. And
Hmm.
so I travel there. Last year I went to Metro Manila, which is where the main
Hmm.
segment is, but also to Palawan and to Cebu. And so we've done things where they had the typhoon several years
Yes.
ago, and they have a typhoon usually annually.
Right. The noteworthy. We'll call it the noteworthy typhoon. Yeah.
But in this particular typhoon in Dambatayan, it destroyed all of their living. So we went
Yes.
and we painted boats and we built houses and we did a medical clinic. And this was the typhoon before this one. We just had another one there that destroyed it again. But we go in and do that. We work with an organization called Hope Worldwide Philippines. Hope Worldwide
Hmm.
has projects all over the world, but this one specifically. And we have a orphanage in Laguna that takes in children who have been abused and gives them a family. And so they have a little family unit in that. And so we are very active in that. But we've also taught marriage classes and parenting classes and all over the world. We've been to Thailand, we've been to Japan and to the Middle East, and Europe. And we just love being able to help people in whatever way we can. Share our knowledge of what we've been through, the experiences we've had, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and
Hmm.
share that with people.
That has to be so satisfying for you.
Absolutely.
It's a gift that you're giving others that gives right back to you.
And because, with the world, at people's fingertips now, it's a little different. People can, go on Google and, I call it Dr. Google, or you're going to get diagnosed and,
That's right.
but, people think that they know it all.
Right.
And, but the experience is the part that I think people are missing. And, there used to be the generation where we needed older people to tell us, to help us, to guide us. Now there's a balance in that, and we have to be respectful of young people, that they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
necessarily want to be told what to do in the way that our parents and the other generations told us what to do. But they do need, some guidance and some wisdom, and to be able to share a different perspective. That's what a balance between, that they know everything and we know nothing. To be able to mutual respect is a big thing.
I think so too. And it's something that it goes that could easily be flipped, where sometimes some people that are older may feel like we know everything and they know nothing, right? So if we can just look at each other human to human and be like, guess what? All of us know things about things.
Yeah.
How do we complement? You mentioned in developing your partnership with your business partner at Shepherd Security, that you all were working together when he had reached out about some issues at the company, and you brought your financial officer skills to the fore to assess. You all realized in your working together that you all complemented each other.
Yes.
And so if more people could just realize the possibility there, I think we could start to see a change overall in the
Absolutely.
world.
It was one of those, interesting. It was actually, he was speaking to my husband. He said, "Do you know somebody who knows finances and
Hmm.
taxes and stuff?" Like, yeah, you need to talk to my wife. And we
Right.
met at Starbucks.
Hmm.
And I looked over his financials and I looked over his taxes, and I said, "Okay, well, this was in June, late June." And so came on July 1, and I said, "We'll know by August 15th whether we have a company or not."
Hmm.
So, and that's where it just took off and went from there. And we both, have had our challenges during that time, and we've
Right.
had to even redefine things in the company as the company's grown, redefining roles,
Well, I'm sure.
staying in our lane,
Uh-huh.
not overreaching and overstepping each other in what we were doing, because as a go-getter, I could very easily just take things and run, and make it very hard to have a partnership at that point.
Well, I want to share some news with everyone, which I believe is okay since it's in print. So you're currently 65,
Yes.
and you and I both know a lot of times at 65, especially people that have had they have the numbers brand that you have, good skills with money, and a broad career. A lot of them are retiring. And yet, what you're doing is securing large contracts, getting this company to just next level with expansion. And I want to let everyone know you're also now an international best-selling author.
Yes.
And this is for the first time, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
First time author at 65. So
First.
anyone out there who is, needs a little energy boost, let Susan inspire you, because at a time where a lot of people are winding down, you're ramping up.
Absolutely.
Can you share with everyone what it felt like to write about your story? What did that whole process feel like, and how does it feel now that your book is published and it's already achieved a bestseller status?
The story of that is, I had been asked to write my story for probably a year before I said yes.
Okay.
I just thought, I didn't think I had anything to share, but it was just my life, and yeah, I've done some things, but who's going to want to read it? And what I found in writing it is that I wanted more. I really had to pare it down a little bit, because there was just so much I had to say. And it's almost like I had this captive audience, so to speak.
Right.
So, and when I shared it with some of I shared it with my children before I published, and I shared it with a couple of friends. And what they said is, "I didn't know that about you." And so
Right.
it was like, even left them wanting more. And so I don't think I'm done writing yet.
Good. I was hoping you would say that.
There's more, there is more I have to say. and more than I can do. And I feel like 65 is a jumping off part. I feel like that
Mhm.
this is my, best and brightest almost, hence the pink and that, I'm like, I've got so much more to give.
Right.
And I don't know what retirement would ever look like at this point. Um, because even if I didn't have Shepherd, I would be doing something.
Yes.
Maybe in my nonprofit world, maybe, but I love, I'm a grandmother. I have 4 granddaughters. I'm heading back tomorrow to be with them. I just got off vacation with them. We take a vacation with all the kids and the kids and the
Mhm.
grands. I just love the chapters that I've had with them. When they were
Right.
really little, I had grandma day and a day every Friday. And I took them to the zoo and to the aquarium and in the ergo. And so,
Right.
I just love being a grandma too.
Mhm. Well, I think it's exciting. And, it's funny. I think more and more people are starting to see the vitality and see the possibility of the path that you're currently taking. I know that my mother, I won't say her age now, but she worked full time as a project manager, not because she had to, but because she wanted to until she was 83.
Yeah.
And no one knew how old she was. So a quick little story, if you don't mind on that.
Yeah.
I have a brother that is 10 years older than me. And so he does not live where my mother lives. He lives in Florida. So he went to an event in Virginia at my mom's work. And so he's aging well, but not quite as well as my mother has. My mother does not look her age. And all of a sudden, this man that had worked with my mother for years looked at my brother and was talking to him. And then he was like, wait a minute. Mary, how old are you? Because like, and no one knew. But
Right.
she attributes having the purpose, the passion. She had no choice but to stay up to date on technology. She had to embrace change. It was with a defense contractor. So this was, full career. And she attributes her continued ongoing health as she is aging to keeping her mind in that place as long as she did. Right. So are there trade-offs? Yes. But she really navigated that in a great way. And at that point, she had been with the company so long, she was still able to do some long trips and she was able to take off every other Friday. So she had some flexibility,
Well,
but
that's
I do.
what I do is I have that flexibility. And so, I can go to the
Right.
Philippines and I can go
Yeah.
to take the kids and do something and,
Right.
and be present with them. That would probably be,
You'd
if I
still
was
have
to
that passion.
have a
You're
weakness.
keeping your passion lit.
Yeah.
Right.
The weakness I would have is that because business drives me so much that I have to really force myself to be present and not be on the phone or taking that last call or that
Hmm.
emergency that comes up and saying into my office, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here. Call Gabe if you need something.
Yes. Yeah.
Because otherwise I would be tempted to be taking that call or making that decision or doing that and not be present with my kids.
Right. So you have to, even now, you're still navigating that tightrope of work life and the boundaries
Yeah.
and being present with family. Because I believe in the chapter, because I read your chapter, you shared that God and family are first,
Yeah.
right? So you have to make sure that you're shepherding yourself, that in each moment you're living that where it's appropriate and needed.
Yeah. It's so easy
Yeah.
to lose yourself in the process. And that's what
Right.
even in the chapter, I talk about how many times that I've had to refocus and really look to, oh, how do I need to put God first today? And what does that
Hmm.
look like? Um,
Right.
in fact, after I get done with this podcast, I'm writing my lesson because I'm preaching tonight at the women's um, devotional, the women's service. And
Hmm.
so, it's like, okay, how does this work? And, how do I inspire other women to do that and to be able to speak and share about what God? And so I'm taking one of the women in the Bible, Lydia, and talking about what she meant in the New Testament and how she helped Paul and to do his work that was really important.
I think that's fantastic. So you're keeping this engagement. I guess one of the things I'm hearing from you, and I hope any listener is also hearing, is you don't have all of your passion eggs in one basket.
Right.
And all of your ventures, your nonprofit, your for profit, what you do with your church and spreading that word, the fabric of your faith is woven into all of them, and yet they each are their own entity, and it brings out your skill and your love and your fire in a different manner.
Absolutely. And that doesn't even count that the travel agency that I own. And so that allows me to do that travel. So yeah, I have a travel agency. I take small groups of people to I took a group to Antarctica, I took a group to Galapagos. So
That is so cool.
that kind of stuff as well.
That is so cool. Okay, so you are an example of you can wear many hats.
Yeah. I just recently was been reading a book. It's called the E-Myth
Busted.
Remastered or that
Oh,
revisited.
remastered. Okay.
Yeah. And so it talks about that there is two different types that we can end up in. And one is an entrepreneur spirit,
Hmm.
and the other is a technician. And if I spend too much time being a technician, I will lose that way to that bridges that gap to take it to the next client or to take it to the next project or to have that vision about what is this going to look like next year, the year after. And if I spend too much of time in the technician mode, I get the job done, but it doesn't change the dynamic of my company. Me staying as an entrepreneur
Right.
changes the dynamic of my company.
Right. And I think that is so critical. And one of the things, because I know you love having an impact on others. When I think of that technician, that technical work, that is typically something that others can also do, as
Right.
well as, or possibly better than, especially in my instance, better than you, right? So if you actually empower someone else, you're having another impact and you're allowing that person to flourish. And then you are staying in your zone of that entrepreneurial spirit, and in that's going to impact more and impact the business.
Because otherwise, you just end up micromanaging people.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
empowering people to do that and letting them make mistakes and letting them learn, that's how I got to where I was. My dad showed me stuff, but it was really taking the little parts part of the pinball machine and making a mistake and then fixing
Right.
it, or taking uh, a what a they used to have fan blades that were in cars, and you have to take the
Right.
fan blades off in order to get the radiator. So
Right. Right.
all of those kinds of things, and you learn how to do it, and you learn how to make mistakes. And if you have to allow people to make the mistakes and let them feel that they can learn as well, and then they can grow in the process.
One of my mentors, Mo Anderson, she calls it failing forward. So you allow people to fail forward, and you as the leader, they're going to, right? So
Yeah.
don't overreact or have some inappropriate response. They're humans and not robots, and they're going to fail. So if you can create an environment where they fail forward and learn from it, then you're being a great leader.
Right.
And then can we show that same grace with our own selves? And it sounds like you do that. Yeah.
Well, I don't fail forward very well.
No. Yeah. When I feel
Our hardest person or critic is ourselves in that.
yes. Yeah. So it's remarkable. And I'm excited to hear that you want to write even more.
Yeah, yeah. I got to find the time to do it, but I'm writing a little bit more, and part of it is I'm documenting for my grandkids.
Isn't that nice?
This is what
Yeah.
my life is like. This is what this is what your grandpa was like. He passed before they, um, were born.
Hmm.
And so, this is what it was, life in the 60s.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
so
you're, yeah.
it's a different life, and they don't know that. And then, being able to explain to them that my dad grew up in the Depression era and why he
Hmm.
worked so hard, and that Depression kids had a different set of struggles that they didn't have. They didn't know where their meal was going to come. And so
Right.
just being able to understand the generations, I think, is important to leave that legacy.
And not just for your grandkids, but like your future yet to be born great grandchildren. Yeah, this is something that you'll be having an impact on people forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And once you
Well,
write it, it's in print,
it's
and
there. That's right. That's right. The cat's out of the bag. You're not getting it back in. Yeah, so it's out there.
Yep.
Well, Susan, I just find what you've done, especially with getting into this male dominated industry and creating such success with Shepherd Security along with your business partner, Gabe. I think that is fantastic. And if anyone listening to this, because I know there's women that are probably fascinated by that field, I'm sure they are fascinated by the whole field of security. I'm sure there are women out there that are fascinated in the adjacent community of, say, investigating and private investigating. Um, you can be a source of inspiration and information for them.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, wherever you're consuming it, contact information for Susan is right in the description wherever you're consuming this. And if you want to read her story or hear her story, audiobook or in word, it is Six Figure Chicks Scottsdale Volume 2. And that's available on Amazon, Kindle, and you can get that book and hear that story. Susan, I want to thank you for being our guest and just sharing so much what you do with the nonprofit, spreading love and the message and the knowledge of God around the world, impacting people through your security company, the travel agency, and just showing us that, because there's a lot of us out there. Notice I'm saying us. I want to do so many things as well. And you are giving us an example of that is possible. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this time.
And if you're listening to this episode of The Inner Estate, I hope you'll join us for the next one. Thank you and have a great day.